live, but I don't think we had an intro.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Season Gaming Bitcast episode 371. We're off to a great start because, Hogue, you just said something during the intro and I couldn't hear what you said.
The intro did not play for me, sir, and I was saying I think we are live because the button showed that we were live, but the intro didn't play, so I was trying to inform you of that.
I got you. It did play on YouTube because I was watching it. So
all right, good.
It played on my screen as well, so I just heard the intro play and then Hogue go, I think we're live.
The best part is I think StreamYard's having some bugs because it used to universally mute everyone on the show when the intro plays. For whatever reason, that's failing because last week, Travis, when I went to do the audio version of the show, you said something during the intro and it came through on the audio and I was like, I can't separate this now. So
what did I say? Was it one of my classic pre-show racial slurs? It just explodes out of me. That?
Oh man. So we've got 2 weeks in a row with that. But anyway, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. We are back for Bitcast 371, like I said, and some good topics this week. We can finally talk about Highguard now that it is out. People have played it. As I joked, Travis, unlike a certain disrespect clown, Travis actually did attend the media event for this, and so he can finally talk about that, and obviously we can talk about it from a gameplay perspective, its reception, where it's going, the developer, etc. We got new details courtesy of Game Informer actually on Judas and Clockwork Revolution. Nothing crazy, but just some cool little things that we can touch on. We've got the Neo 3 demo is out. I've been playing a lot of that. I want to talk about Neo 3 launching this week. We got Crimson Desert doing some kind of like mini videos on their world. So a lot of stuff to talk about. So, but before we get into all of that, we do have some housekeeping to take care of. So let's get to it. First, the cooking video, where it's a month and a half late. We're getting there. Travis recorded the videos finally, yesterday?
Yes. Yeah, I've had an extremely busy couple weeks, and I finally had a 4 or 5 hour gap in my day yesterday, and I was like, D, we're doing this. And we hustled over to my mother-in-law's house to record the video because her kitchen is formatted better for us to record in it. But yeah, it's done. I got it out of the way, knocked that one off the checklist. Thank God. It was stressing me out having that hang over my head. So
you think anybody is shopping for houses and evaluating kitchens for whether they would make good YouTube videos?
Probably.
Maybe. I'm sure there's a
thing.
Especially if you're a cooking YouTube video.
But that's what I'm saying. Write in chat if you are a realtor and anybody's ever asked you, I don't know if this room is really going to work for my video needs while you're shopping one of these houses, because I'm curious about these things.
I'm sure that happens to some degree. But,
yeah, I think recording in the kitchen, you have to have an open kitchen. You have to have a wall knocked down that combines with another room. My kitchen in my house in San Francisco is not like that. You walk through a entryway on both sides. It's contained, and so therefore kind of not wide enough for you'd have to be standing outside of the kitchen to really get a good shot. It doesn't really work. So
yeah, no worries. So he sent those over to me, so I'll get that edited and put up this week, which will be cool to kind of get that out. And I agree with you, Travis. I hate when there's something weighing on me that you haven't gotten to, and it's just sitting there I've got to get this done. So
speaking of which, I've got a preview or 2 previews and a review that are hanging over my head right now. Oh, deadlines. Deadlines.
Yep. The more days something stays on the checklist without getting crossed off, the more annoying it is.
No doubt. In other news, we also put up, we've talked about this for a couple weeks now, so the fantasy critic for the Season Gaming crew. So several of the people at SG who write reviews and stuff, like Alex and Eric and the regulars, from the show, but also Hogue and Travis as well joined us for our fantasy critic this year. And as I've mentioned before, we're giving away prizes. So yesterday on our Discord, we have a fantasy critic channel that's open to everybody. I put a link to the spreadsheet that shows all of our teams, as well as I'm now taking bets, and we're going to have a point system. You can bet on who's going to win, who's going to do better, and whoever gets the most points, first, second, or third, is going to win games, gift cards, and some of those tokens I've shown before that our good friend Ben Kenobi makes. These are these kind of custom art limited edition tokens for various games. He only makes like, you know, very few of these for each game, and they're very, very cool, very, very high quality. That's Grounded 2. Got a whole bunch of them. Got Outer Worlds 2, Doom, Ninja Gaiden 4. So I also put some of those up as part of the prizes as well. And you literally can't buy them. They're not for sale anywhere. They're quite rare. So
now, Ames, I did have a couple of people reach out to me. You've been mentioning that you can bet on the various lineups here, and they did ask me to confirm that when you say betting, you're not talking about people putting their own hard-earned money into some
you don't
kind
have
of
to put
pot.
anything
We're not
in.
violating any betting ring laws, anything like that. No, it's
if you want to bet for real money, you can come to my Discord and we'll invite you to the inner circle.
Nope, perfectly free. All the details are in the channel. So jump on the SG Discord, look for SG Fantasy Critic. It's right there in the open channels. And the details, the link to the sheet is now pinned in that channel, and the details are right there. All you have to do is look at the teams and say who's going to get first, second, third, and then there's a tiebreaker guess of who's going to get the most points or what the point score is going to be. And then at the end of the year, we will obviously tally that up. And like I said, first prize, we're giving away a game of your choice, any platform, along with 3 tokens, and then a couple gift cards as well for second and third. So
you guys see, I finally have almost a full list. I got some games. Yeah,
I
bidded this week. I'm only missing my second counter pick.
Travis figured out how to bid.
I figured it out right after the show yesterday. I was like, all right, let's do this right now, or I'm never going to.
We did a show yesterday?
Or whatever.
Last week.
Last week, yeah. Right after we finished recording and you guys were giving me shit about it, I was like, all right, I'm going to read how to do this. And I just did it. Yeah. And then I won all my bids because no one else did it, just like Hogue's.
Well, yes, Hogue had already filled up his entire lineup in week 1, which he didn't anticipate. So he didn't have anything more to bid on.
Well,
yeah. I like how you talked about yourself in the third person there.
One of the problems I had with this bidding process is that some of the games I wanted to pick haven't been announced yet. And so I'm kind of just having to wait until they get announced, I guess, and then they show up on the list, and then I can
famous IGN reviewer problems.
I know. You hear this? I know all these games coming out, and I can't bid on them. Like, well, yes, that's because other people don't know about them.
And not only do I know they're coming out, I've played them. And so, like, I have an idea that they're probably going to do well. And so
what he's saying out loud right now is he's cheating, and you should account for that.
No, he's not cheating, but he does have a natural advantage in certain respects.
It's really
question.
Just go with insider trading. If I had to,
but remember, he has to use his own judgment. It's still Travis's mind that's controlling his.
I still don't know how the games are going to do. I'm just
this is where it just falls off a cliff, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows how well
he's got advantages and disadvantages.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I think I do have. Yeah, I've got some pretty significant disadvantages the way I think of things. I don't keep track of any Metacritic or I couldn't tell you open critic of basically any game, even the ones I've reviewed. I couldn't even really estimate. So
yeah,
I don't care much about other people's opinions, guys. It's a gift and a curse.
Yeah, you shouldn't. So, but anyway, that is live. So please check that out. Join us. It'll be fun, kind of joking about it. And a lot of people in that channel and on the SG Discord have talked about their own fantasy critic and just bullshitting about games. So jump in there with us. It's a good time.
Well, I think I put in the Discord that I think I like Don's lineup, maybe even more than mine. But as the saying goes, always bet on Hogue.
I've heard honestly, that saying once, and it came from Hogue.
Bet you can do. That's probably the word. Like that would be my last choice, to be honest with you.
I don't think that's becoming a thing, Hogue. Yeah, I don't think that's a saying.
Like if you were like, "Hey, Travis, which of your friends do you think is going to be really good at understanding like where the world is at in terms of the average critic rating?" I'd be like, well, not Hogue. Like I would check off his list first. I'd be like, he's not going to understand. He's going to have like a bunch of games that rated lowly as like his game of the year that nobody's heard of. So we'll go ahead and just take him out.
You have to clip this, Hogue, because if you do well now, you've got these receipts.
We'll see how it goes. We will see how it goes. Look, I know that I have my own disadvantages, which is when I was drafting things, I basically was self-sorting for things I wanted to root for, like things I wanted to see succeed. And that kept me from picking a couple of ones where I'm like, well, that's almost a definite winner in terms of that's going to be in the 80s, if not high 80s. But I don't want to root for that one against this other one, so I'll pick that one. Like I'm always doing this. I did that with fantasy football too. Is I don't like that athlete, and so even though that would be a good thing for my team, I'm not going to pick them because I don't want to be sitting there on a Sunday rooting for them to succeed. So I have my own disadvantages too. But one of the major advantages I had is that I got to bid against no one in week 1 because nobody read the rules.
Yeah.
You got Leighton, which I would have probably bid on. Although, did you notice we both have Tides in our pick list?
I have not looked.
It's Tomorrow versus Annihilation. Which of the Tides will win? He chose Tides of Tomorrow.
I did. Well,
I was gonna say if I guess here, Hogue has Tomorrow and you have Annihilation.
He does. I wouldn't touch Tides of Annihilation with a 10-foot pole. I wouldn't. Not after the one fake Final Fantasy 15 game from last year that I can't remember the name of now. So.
Soulside, Lost Soulside.
Thank you. Yes, the name that never sticks in my head.
Well, I couldn't possibly comment on why I chose that game.
All right, we're moving on from live fantasy chat here, but anyway, check it out. It's a
this is a risk now. We're gonna have to add this as a sequence at the start of our.
No
show.
Kidding. Yeah, no kidding. But anyway, let's get over to a little bit of community here. So, Fat Boy Horror coming in hot at the top of the show again.
Fat Boy Horror, 10-pound super chat. What?
No, not you. I've read ahead. Go.
Oh, okay. I haven't read it yet. Okay. Morning, lads. Hope all is going well. Weird to find out that Epstein is responsible for goddamn horse armor. Apparently, I have not read enough of the Epstein files. Anyway, here's to my
there are some game connections
experience. There. Bloody difficult at times.
Knock him out, Fat Boy Horror. Trails is worth the effort.
Are they challenging? The Trails games?
No.
I get in trouble every time I talk about this because I say I don't find the Trails games to be that difficult. But some people absolutely say that this is a very hard system to learn.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I mean, it's hard to learn. I would say that. It's a little bit
well, there's like 5 or 6 overlapping concepts in a Trails game.
It's dense, but I would not describe it as like a challenging game. It's mostly like a learning curve.
So it's the systems. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Fat Boy, hope you're well, my friend. He actually posted a picture on our Discord. He got the I'm gonna forget the name now, but he got a bomber jacket from like Yakuza or something this week. It's hilarious. All right.
It's funny. I was gonna get a big giant dragon tattoo on my back for Yakuza, but
hell yeah,
bomber dragon.
I'm waiting to see it, Hogue. I'm waiting to see it.
Do you remember the Cyberpunk bomber jacket that they gave out at E3? Ains, you probably were going to E3 back then.
Yeah.
And it was I think like right after the event ended, I saw that they were going on eBay for like $800. Like people were just selling their E3 jackets. And then later CD Projekt Red just started selling that bomber jacket on their website. And then everybody's jackets weren't worth anything. Man, I would have sold that jacket if I was not, morally obligated to not profit off of my position. It would be, would have been great.
Yeah, I wasn't so lucky to get one. I got one of the visors. Like they were giving out visors from the show. I got one of those.
I still have mine. I still have that freaking jacket they gave everyone.
We got Tides picks this week. Obviously talking about Highguard, and here we go.
Is this Highguard?
Yes. It is. You can see the horses behind me, although I am cinematic.
That's it. Just horses. Like
it looks like we were placed.
The buildings don't really look like that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't know. It's quite.
It kind of is like Fallout as well. Fallout meets. I feel like AI has not played Highguard. That's my takeaway from this.
Yes, that is correct.
It doesn't really know.
Oh my god. I look like I was just placed on a background, like I found myself in a fake movie or something. It looks very weird.
It kind of looks like if you were just like transported inside Kingdom Come Deliverance too.
Yep, you're in the Minecraft movie version of Highguard. Jack Black is just off frame.
Yeah, Gamefire says low guard. Yep. Ty, thank you as always. We're gonna get into Highguard here shortly. All right. So boys, what we've been playing. What do you want to talk about? What games you like? Hogue, I'm sure you got like 18 from the last 4 days. So
I do have a lot of games to choose from here. I have, of course, been playing Dispatch on my Nintendo Switch so that I can experience the censorship in its full glory. I love this story, by the way, because Ad Hoc, the developers of Dispatch, and Nintendo are fighting in press release comments, which is one of my favorite things. And Ad Hoc blames Nintendo for censoring their game. Nintendo says, hey, bro, we're just making games comply with the various ratings agencies. It wasn't our choice to do what you did with your game. Everybody points to Cyberpunk 2077 on the Switch and says, okay, if that exists, why are there any black bars over any of these cartoon people in Dispatch? It's a great story, but it is also a good game on Switch. Dispatch, I always felt, would be a good Switch experience. And so it does play perfectly fine on Switch, as you would anticipate. I have gotten back to where I was before in my PC run through of the game at about episodes 6 and 7. And one day I will finish this game. But again, the comedy isn't really my cup of tea entirely, but I do think it is a quality, well-presented Telltale type game. I wish that the Dispatch portion of it had come together a little bit more interestingly, but that is a kind of minor note on what I think is a very good product.
Yeah, so I mentioned last week I started playing it. I actually finished it this week. I really got into it. So episode 8, I would say, Hogue, which for those who don't know is the last one. It's 8 episodes. 8's a little longer, obviously, than the others. You would kind of expect that. It throws a couple wrenches at you in a few ways. But I really enjoyed it. I know you said before, you know, the humor is not really up your alley. I really liked it. And I was telling some people this week, as I think we talked about, that the quality of the animation and just the production quality on it feels almost like adult Telltale. Like Telltale took that next step, which it
looks great.
Right.
It looks great. When you watch these scenes, it's like, wow, I can't believe it looks that good for a game of this type. And sometimes it doesn't even look like it's a game. It just looks like it's hand animated. And I think that's really impressive.
Yeah, it's really good. I really enjoyed it. This would have been on my top 10 list for last year for sure. I'm glad I played it now, and I'm definitely going to play through it again, because there's actually some significant choices throughout the game that actually will, like, you know, you'll have different characters in the story, and things come back. I won't spoil anything, of course, but things come back at the end, Hogue, depending on certain things you did. And so it's just really good. Love that game. Really enjoyed it.
Good. So, yeah, no, and I, like I said, I think it's a good Switch product. The argument about the censorship is really interesting to me because, like I said, Ad Hoc is throwing a lot of shade at Nintendo. Nintendo is mostly deflecting it and also saying ridiculous things in their regard. Like, I would make a video on this if I had a little bit more time. There might still be one this next week, but I love to watch these things happen in real time. And yeah, I wish I had the choice of whether to censor or not in the game itself, like you do in the PC version. I did turn on the language censor for one playthrough the other day. It's almost like a satire, because you get like these sentences that are just beep, one word, beep, 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 one word. And it's like, okay, so this isn't going to work. And I turned that off, but it is hilarious to get the full black bars on these cartoon characters and then have every other word be beeped. My wife is like, what are you playing?
There's I was playing on my Portal one night. So went up to bed. I was playing on my Portal, and I happened to start, I think it was episode maybe 4. And right at the beginning of the episode is like a full sex scene.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm laying there next to my wife, and I just have the TV on, and I'm playing the Portal with the sound on. And it's just like full sex scene. She's like, what are you playing?
Yep. I got that too.
I was like, check it out.
Folks, buy Dispatch. Buy Dispatch and have your significant other question your life choices.
Oh,
nice.
Well, never mind. I wasn't going to say what I just said, but yeah, it's fine.
It was the cover over himself. What you want to
Bringing back those teenage memories.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead, Hogue. You said you had another game you wanted to touch on.
Oh, yeah. No, there's a lot of stuff I've been playing a little bit on and off. The one that is the most kind of prominent in the review space, I think, is Cairn, which is a mountain climbing game by the Game Bakers, who made Haven, which is one of the more well-realized, I'm going to say, game romances that I've played in the indie space. It is about a married couple that gets stranded on an alien planet, and you have to kind of work through how to get out while also maintaining your relationship. It's a very well-done game, and it was one of the reasons I had Cairn circled as one I wanted to check out. But
I like how you're going to mention, first of all, he's going to mention Haven as the Game Bakers made, not Fury, a much better game.
Fury's older and it's more about hitting things with your swords.
It's a boss rush, bro. That game's sick. Game's sick.
Well, okay, so I would offer that Haven is a better design than Fury, but hey,
yikes.
To each their own. In any event,
regardless,
Karen is what came out this week.
Yeah, Karen's by far their most celebrated game critically to date.
Karen is a really good game. I will say Karen is right now, as far as I am in it, which isn't very far at all, a better kind of tech experiment than a game itself. But I do know that they've laid the groundwork for some interesting kind of story beats and things that they want to put in here that I anticipate will come to fruition as you play the game longer. It is a free climbing simulator, right? So the way this game works is you hit the square button. For me, I'm playing on my PlayStation. You hit the square button to say, I want to climb this little piece of rock in front of me. And then rather than being Link in Breath of the Wild and you just get a stamina bar and you go straight up it, you have to position each of your limbs on something that can hold your body weight. And then each limb is kind of measured differently for whether or not it can sustain the hold, and starts to shake if it can't, and then rotates between the limbs. So it's, left leg, left arm, right arm, in various degrees as you climb this mountain. But it's arduous, and you have to maintain your water and your stamina and all these things as you go up. So it feels like that every inch a mile that I like so much in games, but all with really cool tech, really cool music and atmosphere, some cool art. It's got that kind of dark outlined comic book style that reminds me a little bit of Dungeons of Hinterberg. But I really, really enjoy what this game is doing right now. And if they add just a little bit more depth, which I think is in the offing in terms of character and reasoning here, I think it'll be a really, really strong game. Obviously, the people that have finished it, that have reviewed it, have all indicated that this is that strong game. So I do recommend, Karen, to go with Dispatch on Switch and those black bars and beeps and playing it on your Portal with your wife in bed next to you, if that's what floats your boat as the start of episode 4. Yeah, Karen is a good one. And I wanted to mention it because I didn't know whether you guys had gotten the chance to play it yet.
No,
I've not played it, but it sounds just like Baby Steps. So,
it is.
I'm into that.
I haven't played Baby Steps, but my understanding is Baby Steps had the analog controls for the footsteps. Like Karen is not designed to make you feel ridiculous. It's not. It's designed to look like you actually are.
The way you describe each of your limbs having a bunch of weight that they can carry is pretty much how Baby Steps works. So probably less physics based and intentionally goofy, but yeah, I get it. Game Bakers is talented. Second of all, I looked up, since we were just talking about like how good we are at understanding what the sentiment of a game is going to be. Fury's rated higher than Haven. I hate to say it.
Yeah, but only by 3 points.
Not looking good for your draft pick.
So,
well, I mean, people that would be willing to bet on me do know that I tend to disagree with like the zeitgeist of critics. So that's not a great sign for a scoring mechanism that's based on the zeitgeist of critics. I fully yield to that.
I do want to play Karen though. It's on my list, but I haven't even played Dispatch. Like you guys are basically just listing off games that are on my backlog this morning. So,
yeah, Karen was sitting out there on the Fantasy Critic, and I went in like I'm sure others did. And I was like, Game Bakers games are not bad, but they're like in the mid 70s. Like, I don't know if I want to take a risk on this one. It comes out and it's nearly a 90. So people really like it.
Strong.
Apparently the writing is really, really good too, from what I read in some reviews. So
yeah, I mean, I think it looks like it's going to be what I consider to be the kind of standard indie meditations on loneliness and grief. But I think there is something there if they want to explore it. I just haven't gotten far enough yet.
Okay, cool, very cool.
Game Bakers has always been pretty good, just in general. Their narratives are good. They have interesting ideas for games.
I mean, when I say Haven is really strong.
I think I met their team once. D and I played that game. That's the one where you can hold hands if you fly next to each other. It's like a co-op game. We thought it was all right. We're like, it's good. It's good. It's interesting. It's a unique idea for a game, which is cool.
Cool. Yeah, I forgot that came out, honestly. I don't think it's my type of game, Hogue, so I don't know if I'm actually going to play it at all. But
Haven or Karen?
Doing so well. Karen. Yeah. So, but I did jump into the new demo of Neo 3 because I think people forgot it had a demo last year too. But this demo is a lot more meaty. It is the kind of tutorial intro you go through in the Neo games to teach you the combat and style and all that, and you break out of the castle. It's pretty similar to the other two games, but then it does put you into the open world, which it allows you to really play quite a bit of. I have like 3 or 4 hours in this demo now, and it's still going. There's still more I can explore and do, and it does carry to the main game that launches this week. So if you are potentially interested in Neo 3, I would recommend downloading this demo and playing it. I got to say, guys, like I've said about Neo 1 and 2, my biggest complaint with them, besides not really caring about the stories they tell, it's just not my type of storytelling. But the confined level structure of 1 and 2 was always my biggest complaint. I much prefer kind of Souls 3, 2-ish, where you can just kind of go explore and figure out your own path. That's just what I like. Neo 3 is that. It actually has inherited this open world structure based on regions. And then in each region, you get basically rewards for exploring more, discovering more, tackling enemy bases, mini bosses, all this stuff. So it's almost like they took Neo, kept the loot system, the combat, all the intricacies of Neo kind of complexity, because it has a lot of depth to its combat in various forms. And then they added this open world kind of, I don't want to say Far Cry, but almost like that, Assassin's Creed-ish a little bit, but without the 80 million icons. And so it's kind of interesting, but I really, really like it. It's much more my vibe, just kind of wandering around and discovering things and choosing what to fight when and that type of thing. And I think it's really, really cool so far. I've been playing it a lot since I think Friday, and really looking forward to it this week. So if you kind of like Neo 1 and 2 at all, and it's kind of your vibe of game, I would at least give the demo a look. It definitely gives you enough to know whether or not you should buy it.
And Neo's a tricky one for me because I do fall into the bucket of I kind of like those, but I have the same problems that you did, which is like it's that very kind of clunky version of storytelling in those first two games. I don't know whether they're even going to try it in the third one. And I also don't know that I am the same place as you with respect to the level design. Like at some point, the Neo games presented a more bite-sized kind of level structure that seemed more approachable to me. That I think I got further in Neo than I would have if it just said, here are these giant spaces. So I'm not sure that it's actually going in the direction that's better for me or not, based on what you described.
Yeah, that's perfectly fair. So I do like, for that reason, I like that they gave a solid demo of it. And it's like a 60 gigabyte install. So I'm assuming you're just installing the whole game.
Yeah.
And then it'll unlock. Yeah, you'll just unlock if you buy it digitally. But like I have nearly 100% at the first region, and you can just travel between them like it's all open. It's not like you're fast traveling between regions. It's just a big open space. So like when you cross the line of the region, it basically just changes your exploration meter. And I have the main mission to go to the main story, if you will, and I just haven't, and I just keep wandering around and doing more stuff. So I'm sure I'm going to hit a wall at some point, but there's plenty there to digest if you want to check it out.
The big meaty demos are really nice.
You are now entering Blight Town.
I think I got 11 or 12 hours out of the Dragon Quest VII remake demo. So it's like those are fun.
And you're still playing the Kazan demo.
I bought Kazan. I will not be guilted.
You're still playing the demo, just to be clear.
I paid them their money.
And yet you're still playing the demo.
Yeah, the interesting thing with this one, Neo has its various combat forms, but you can switch in real time between samurai mode and ninja mode. They actually have their own loadouts and entirely. Yeah. So like you can be, I won't get into the details of, but you have that full loot system like build out, but you have it for both now, and you can swap in real time. So you can make your samurai kind of like the strong, heavier armored guy who can take bigger hits, and then switch instantly to ninja who's much faster and has different moves. It's a lot of depth to like the button pressing and the combat. It's way more, because I was coming off Eliza P, and Liza P is much more simple compared to this. So it's taken a little acclimation, but I'm enjoying it a lot. And it's very smooth.
Well, that's good.
So, Travis, obviously we're going to talk about Highguard in a minute, but anything else that you've been touching on that you can actually talk about?
My brain just like flying through all these games I definitely can't talk about. Are there any games I can talk about that I played this week?
He doesn't know. We don't even know if he's actually playing these games behind the scenes. He just tells
True.
us.
It's true. Oh my god.
You can't talk about Half-Life 3. I know that, but
I guess it's just Highguard that I can talk about, didn't I? Yep. Yeah, that's it. That's all I can talk about. Unfortunate.
All right.
Well, yeah, that's it.
We'll get to Highguard in a minute, but Hogue, you got any other Hogue's notes you want to call out here?
I do. There's one, I'm going to say big one because I love it this much, but it's actually a really tiny game that I want to mention called Xenopurge. Okay. And this is a game where you are sitting in front of a computer and you're basically the guy in the chair for a squad of folks that are doing their own kind of version of Aliens, right? So you've got the blueprint in front of you and they're little dots and they're named after Aliens characters like Hicks and Ripley and Morse and whatnot. Nice. And they've got various combat skills, but for the most part, you aren't directing them individually. You are setting their kind of programming. So whether they're reconning, whether they're grouped on one another, what they're doing to look around this various area, and you have to go and eliminate the alien hive, or you have to go and find all the intel. And this is done in, like so many other indie games at this point, a roguelike progression. So you've got the kind of Slay the Spire network board of figuring out which battle you're going to do and which upgrades you're going to get. And you get different programming options for the various squad members and different weapons and different equipment. And then when you get to the end of a run, you can then go to the next run and it'll have some modifiers and some roguelike elements. And I just really, really adored this experience. I think it came out late last year. It's on sale right now. I bought it on Steam. I really like the version of games where it completely maps to what you're actually doing. So you are sitting in front of a computer in the game while you're sitting in front of a computer to play the game. I really have always liked that. And this just really came together very well. I also love it when studios can figure out ways to not have to license everything, but still evoke what it is that they are meaning to aim at. So this feels exactly like Aliens. It's not licensed by anybody. It's not licensed from Aliens. It's not licensed from Warhammer 40K, but it invokes all those things with a really cool design progression. Played it for hours and wanted to tell you all about it because I don't know that I've heard anybody discuss it anytime soon.
Yeah. Looking it up as I always do when you're talking about these things. Very cool. I see PC Gamer actually calls that exactly what you did, is that without a license, without any of the flash, Xenopurge cuts to the heart of Aliens. It's tense, claustrophobic. Everyone's going to die. It's great.
Yeah, no, they have really good audio where they're constantly shouting, "It's coming right for me," and that kind of thing. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I see some of the names obviously from Aliens. My wife was watching a documentary on Aliens this week, so it's very fresh in my mind. So for those interested, Xenopurge, one word, it is $8 on sale on Steam.
Highly recommended. $8.
There's a demo for it too. So
go nuts. Play the demo.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Go nuts for donuts.
All right.
Explosion Man?
Cool.
Anyone?
The what? Sorry.
You guys remember Explosion Man?
I do. Yeah.
Good times.
Xbox Live Arcade, was it not?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Going back.
Those were the days.
Yeah, it's a long time now. Let's get into Highguard. Let's go ahead and do it. So Highguard finally came out this week from Wildlight Entertainment. So we've talked about it a little bit. Ended the Game Awards show. There's a story behind that. Travis attended. They had a media event. What's it? 3 weeks ago now? 4 weeks ago?
It was only 2 weeks ago. It was 5 days before the game came out.
That's true. Yeah, a couple weeks ago now.
Pretty late.
Yeah,
that's for.
That's where you met Dr. Disrespect.
That's right. Dr. Disrespect and I we met in the bathroom there at the event. He was streaming, so I just
that was the joke. Good job.
Yep. So comes out. It's for those who are completely unaware of this game. It's free to play. It is a unique take on kind of competitive multiplayer. It's 3v3, so it's 2 teams of 3. At least it was a few days ago. We'll get to that in a second. And it's a unique game mode where it has different phases. So it incorporates kind of things from different shooters along the way. So it's kind of got a looting phase, combat phase, kind of a base defense phase. And it didn't land at the Game Awards very well. People wanted to see how it came out. The reception initially has not been very good. in the sense of, it hit like whatever it is, 100,000 players concurrent on day one. That dropped very quickly. So Travis, I want to talk to you quite a bit about this because you and I talked offline about it. I went in, played it. Obviously, this type of genre is my jam. This is what I spend a lot of my time on every week, playing with friends in different areas. There's something here, but it lacks a lot. And I don't know if they are prepared or going to be quick enough to make updates to this to make it viable. I have a lot of concerns about this game. So let's start at the beginning from the event that you went to and kind of like the developer's mindset about what they want to do with this game. You want to start there?
Yeah. So first of all, I'll get to my thoughts about the game and why I think people are judging it kind of erroneously. But well, there's some criticisms obviously I think are legit, and then some that I think people just didn't play enough of the game, which is fine. Like you're not obligated to play a lot of the game. I am, so I feel like that's kind of a different position to be in. But the event was done right before the game came out, which is unusual. Usually you have more lead time for these sorts of things, and they don't have people out that late. However, this game's entire strategy was to be shadow dropped, just like Apex Legends was. That obviously didn't happen because Jeff Keighley, who is a fan of the game or was at the preview event, he was a fan of the game and offered them a slot for free that they were just like, yeah, we'd be stupid to not take that. But I think that was always their intention. And so their game plan was to have press and influencers out there right before their game dropped and then shadow drop it one day and hopefully have people discover it and fall in love with it. The team is made up of a whole bunch of former Respawn devs, specifically people that worked on Apex Legends, as where a lot of them come from. And you can see that in the DNA of the game. It is a 3-player squad game, just like Apex. It's got hero shooter aspects, just like Apex. The gunplay and the sliding and the way it feels is very similar to Apex Legends. And they started their own studio in search of like what the next thing is that they wanted to do. And they told me that in playing some of their favorite games, they sort of discovered this mode that they wanted to bring to creation, which is pretty unlike any other mode I've seen in a shooter. And basically the idea was that one of their favorite games are survival shooters like Rust. And if you've never played Rust, in those games, you spend like dozens of hours building up your base. And then eventually when you get to a point in the game, kind of the climax is that you find somebody else's base to like invade with your weapons and like blow up their fort and kind of like storm their castle, as it were. It's the childhood fantasy you'd play with your siblings where you guys each build forts and you try to knock each other's down, that sort of thing. And that was the part that they really liked. However, in a game like Rust, it's sort of the culmination of dozens of hours of gameplay. And so their thought was, can we turn this into like a 10-minute to 20-minute like game mode where it's just that fun part of like storming a castle? And so that's what they built. Highguard is a 3v3 mode where you sort of gear up and then you go out to try to storm the other player's castle. And they tried a whole bunch of versions of this. They tried a version where there were like 4 different bases and each of the teams had 3 to 4 to 5 people. They tried versions with much larger teams. They tried versions with like smaller maps. And the version they eventually landed on, which you can see in the game as its primary game mode, is 3v3 with 2 bases. And it's really focused on like getting as quickly as possible to the raid part where you're storming or defending a castle. And that's sort of where the game shines. If you've played it, it's like the best part of the game. You're either on the defending side and you're seeing like this big grand slam into your base and get ready to tear down a shield, or you're on the other side like getting ready to invade. And it's quite exciting. I mean, who doesn't love a good siege? Who doesn't love a good siege? And so that was it.
I'm English. I adore it, man.
Yeah,
I was going to say Denethor, but hey.
Yeah, we got to play about 5 hours of. I don't know. He seemed to enjoy himself, Hogue. And we got to play about 5 hours of the game, and then we talked to all the devs. I got to do a couple interviews with them and just sort of understand their thought process. And they also showed us their roadmap for the next year, which if you haven't seen the roadmap, one of the things they talk about is when Apex Legends came out and then everybody was like, okay, what's next? And they were like, oh shit, we just made the game. this is sort of indicative of the time for live service games, which is they were still pretty new, and every time a developer came out with a game, they immediately forgot to create like a pipeline. And so they have learned since that, and they have most of the content for the next year sort of already in playtesting, like nearly ready to go. And their plan was to release a new character every 2 months, a new base every couple months. They've got a couple maps coming, game modes, like a whole bunch of stuff in the pipeline. And as we saw this week, they kind of hit like the emergency deliver some of that content button with one of the bases that I assume was scheduled for a little bit later. And they've got, a lot more stuff coming. So, which is always good to see in a live service. It's sort of just like a requirement. Like, you're not going to make it very far unless you have a plan. And Apex Legends, I think, went on for like 6 months before it got really any new content. So
there was a big pause. Yeah,
it was a pretty big pause, and this is certainly not going to suffer from that. So yeah, it was interesting. I think the advantage, and this is something I don't really talk about a lot, but the advantage of going to an event like this is you get to play with the developers, and they explain like the game mode to you and some of the meta and like how to play and like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that saves you a lot of time of like figuring out on your own, like what the kind of best strategies are, like how the flow of battle is. And this game is pretty complicated in that it is very structured. And they also talked about the fact that they tried many versions of this game where it was like less structured, where you could spend whatever time you wanted defending or whatever time you wanted gearing up and going and trying to find the raids and all that. And the thing they found is that it sort of gave players a little too many things to focus on, and it became extremely chaotic and hard to like get the team all on the same page. And so the way Highguard works is it just forces you in like phases of being like, all right, now you're in the defense phase. That's like a minute. Now you're in the gear up phase. That's 2 minutes. Now you're trying to find the shield breaker and storm the base. And it kind of forces you into different like rounds, which I think is really helpful to keeping the team focused, even if you're not on mics. Like, everybody knows exactly what they're supposed to be doing at that time in that phase, which I think helps give it a little structure. And then my initial reaction to it was like a lot of these games, like when they're made by developers who know what they're doing, it has good gunplay. It has a very interesting idea for a new game mode, but you never know if these games are going to be successful. And most of the time they're not, because it's really hard. You're competing against every other game that is even somewhat like the one you're making. And kind of my thought was, I told this to Ains too after the event. I said, hey, this game has potential, but I also said that about Wildgate, which was very similarly like trying a new thing, was not like any other game mode that I had played before. And my first thought was exactly that after playing Wildgate as well, which was like, hey, this is really cool. Who knows if it will catch on? And my track record for like knowing what players are going to be into isn't very good. Like, I played Helldivers 2 when that came out, or before it came out, and my thought was, oh, that's really cool, but I don't know if anybody will play this. And then it became the biggest game like ever at that time. So it's really hard to tell how people are going to react to certain things and what's going to catch on and what's not. As a reviewer, that's not my job, though. I'm not here to tell you if a game is going to be successful. I'm just here to tell you if it's going to be good. And there's plenty of good games that are not successful. And it seems like Highguard might be one of them, because I actually think this game is good. I just think most people either didn't play it or saw the online response and it getting review bombed, which I think a lot of that is unfair. Or like Ains, they played like 1 or 2 matches, not enough to like really even figure out how the game mode works and kind of see what the magic is, I think, in what they're trying.
Catch a stray.
Well, I'm just saying, like, you bounced off really quickly, and that's not your fault, right? Like, you're not covering this game. You're not obligated to play more than 1 or 2 matches. But I think the people that only play 1 or 2 matches that's not enough time to like see what is special about the game, I think. And so
which might be a problem with the onboarding.
Exactly. I mean, it's not really even a problem with the onboarding. It's they made a mode that is kind of complicated and that I think takes a couple hours of playing before you like figure it out. And so I think the benefit of the preview event is both being forced to play it for a certain length of time and also having devs like whisper over your shoulder, like giving you advice and like telling your team like, hey, here's how the game works. And yeah, I don't know if you can solve that with onboarding, but I do think the people that I've been playing with Alex and Rob Frawley and like some of the people at Season Gaming. And I think their initial reaction was just like yours, Ains. And then when I forced them to play more with me, they've like come around on it. And so it's kind of one of those games that just like grows on you once you've played it a bit. But yeah, the preview event was cool. And I came away thinking, like many live service games, wow, this is a cool idea. Who knows if it will actually go anywhere? And just looking at the Steam charts, it seems that it's going to struggle to find an audience, which is the game. That's the whole trouble these days, is can you actually find an audience and maintain their interest, right?
So let's oh, go ahead, Hogue.
Oh, I was gonna say and I will say the Steam charts are only part of the story. I think people maybe put too much weight on that, especially for a game that I would anticipate would have some sell through on the consoles. It feels like a console type game to me, and I'm not playing Highguard, so I'll say that right up front. But I will also say that, like, I believe I've mentioned here, one of my favorite multiplayer experiences ever, which basically only happened during one small sliver of time, was playing Evolve. And there was a moment where it was just the absolute heights of my favorite experience ever, but it was clear that people were not able to engage with what that game wanted to be and the options that it gave the players for all too long. And I do think there is some blame to go around the industry on training the group of people we consider gamers to basically be flattened into wanting a death match or a team death match or a capture the flag above all, and maybe not having the willingness that you need to get into some more complex kind of options. And so I feel bad for the Highguards and the Evolves of the world, because I think there's really fun experiences to be had there. But when you require multiplayer uptake, when you require people to get engaged with these kinds of things, it is no surprise here in 2026 that if it doesn't immediately show the magic within 5 minutes, that there are people saying this is garbage. And if that becomes too big of a group, that snowballs on social media and online very quickly.
Yeah. I also think it had some like unforced errors, like the way that it does anti-cheat on PC pissed a lot of people off because it makes you do it through BIOS. That like pissed off that whole thing, and probably made it less playable on Steam, honestly. Like I actually haven't played it on PC since the preview event because I heard about the stuff with the way it does anti-cheat, and I was like, oh, I'll just play it on console. Why not? It's free everywhere. Why not just play it on one of the consoles? But I could see that being a problem too.
Yeah, it absolutely was. Steve at SG had issues with it because of secure boot. So same thing, just based on his PC. But regardless, let's get into a couple of my issues with this game specific to the design. So you go through these phases, and part of the phase, or one of the phases and part of the mode, is to defend your base, right? If they get the forge, is it forge breaker, right? The sword, whatever the hell it's called.
So the shield breaker,
shield breaker. Sorry, forge breaker. So the only thing you do in your base is upgrade the walls, and those walls are extremely easy to break through, whether they're upgraded or not. So I think this is an aspect of multiple phases of this game that I have problem with. And that is that they're going for something, a mechanic that from other games has depth for a variety of reasons. Everyone, well, not everyone, but a lot of people are familiar with like tower defense games, right? And so in tower defense games, you have all these different things you can usually do and capabilities and whatnot. And it feels like this team wanted to implement aspects of different genres of video games into this competitive shooter space. But to what you guys were just saying, which I agree with, by the way, everything you just said about just the modern gaming community, they knew they had to simplify it to be engaged with, right? To be engaging for the shooting community. But in simplifying it as much as they have, it feels pointless. So literally the entire first phase of just holding X or whatever you're on PC to upgrade your walls is not only boring, it feels pointless, because when they do get into your base, if they have the thumper charges and they're good at meleeing, they break right through those walls anyway. It's fast as hell. You're talking seconds. So, and I think that my problem with that design echoes across the other phases as well. So if you think about the looting phase, and we talked about this offline a bit, Travis, but even if you put aside the emptiness and the lull that the looting phase feels like, where you're just riding this horse around basically an empty damn map, and just going to grab chest, upgrade your loot, it's so sequential phase after phase. So when you go from phase 1 and then say there's, it's 100 to 70 or whatever, and then you go to phase 2 and phase 3, and I've played a few games that go to OT. We had some matches that went over 30 minutes, as we've talked about before.
Yeah.
But each phase of the looting is like, all right, I have white. Then I go to all these chests. Okay, I get the guns I want. Now I have blue. Okay, now I have purple. Okay, now I have legendary. And it's so cursory. It's so surface level nonsensical. It's just like, okay, I'm upgrading from blue to purple. Everyone else is upgrading from blue to purple. That's all we're doing for 2 minutes right now. And then we're going to go shoot each other again. And it just feels very, very pointless. It just feels very silly in the sense of you've got these distinct phases where you're really not accomplishing much of anything. And there are certain things you can do, like we talked about, where like, okay, instead of just going over here to the chest, you can charge the enemy and you can engage with them in that phase if you want to. But generally speaking, there's these just weird gaps in what I would call of the core game experience that make no sense to me. And the worst part is you repeat them. So then, like, you get 30 points off their base, and it's like, all right, we're starting at phase 1. I'm going to hold X to do the walls again. Now I'm going to go from white to blue weapons, and then eventually we're going to have a 3-on-3 battle that lasts maybe 10 seconds, if they're good at shooting. And then you're just riding around again. It's just the whole structure of the mode feels really off to me.
I think people have, this is like one of the main, I think, misconceptions of the game is that when you first play it, the phases don't make a lot of sense because you haven't really understood the meta yet, but they make sense the more you play them. So like first talking about the defense phase, like people think, oh, if I reinforce a wall, it's supposed to be unbreakable. You're actually just trying to make it slightly harder or more inconvenient to get through. If you reinforce a wall, you can't break it with a melee, not a normal one. You have to use like your powers or your heavy equipment. You'll just bounce right off it otherwise. And so what you're actually trying to do is you're trying to funnel them. And so you're intentionally leaving like gaps in your base to like this. I'm going to make sure that this part of the wall is not guarded, and then they're going to break through that, and then I'm going to know exactly where they're coming from. And so you're kind of trying to create like custom choke points as they enter your base rather than just like keep them out. And so you kind of figure that out pretty quick after a couple matches, and it makes the game more interesting. Like one of the things I do is, depending on the base, I'll reinforce certain like walls that I don't want them to come through and then leave other ones open. And then I'll also break my own walls inside my base to create lines of sight so that I can shoot into those places. And so there's ways you can kind of like you can break like a ceiling or like a second floor thing so that you can shoot down into an area that you're like kind of like customizing the way the map works. And so I think the defense, I have some criticisms about the way that works, mostly that it's lacking features. Like I think it's crazy it doesn't have traps. Like you can't put like, like not even like a turret. I think a turret would be cool, but like you should be able to put like, a spring-loaded spike wall that like comes out or something like that I think it would be cool to be in the game. Right now, the only traps you get is if you choose one specific base that has explosive barrels out in front of it, and then you can shoot those to kind of cause little explosions. But beyond that, like all you're doing is reinforcing walls and then you're going. I do think it benefits from the fact that you only spend 1 minute doing that. And so that phase is extremely short. It's like basically the phase in Overwatch where you're like waiting behind the shield wall for it to come down.
Exactly.
Like it's not very long at all. And then in terms of the second phase where you're looting up, I would agree with you somewhat on the arbitrariness of like, oh, I'm upgrading to purple and so is everyone else. There's certainly some of that where it's like, all right, the loot gear has leveled up, and so I'm just popping in. You can get better loot. If you get lucky, you can get loot that is like above the current level, which definitely is a huge advantage. But the other thing that you're doing is you're like accumulating resources for the battle. So like, yes, everyone's going to get blue armor as soon as they get out the door, but are you going to get 1 or 2 layers of blue armor or 8? Because a mechanic in this game people seem to not understand is every time you die, you lose your armor. And so you have to pick up multiple stacks. And a lot of people, like if you've got like 8 sets of armor on and then you go into battle in the raid and you get killed 8 times, suddenly you're with white armor again and you're just getting absolutely smashed. And so you're kind of like gathering a resource. It's like a very light survival mechanic. And the other thing is that they say like, oh, it's a big open map with nothing on it, which is fair. I mean, it is quite empty, but I have, because of the way, like the longer you play, the more you realize that like that phase is for fighting. Like I don't think I have played a single match where I haven't found the other group of people and like engaged with them during that phase, during the loot up phase, because what you're kind of doing, the meta that is developing the game, is you're denying them easy access to the loot. So you're kind of hunting them down. And then also there's supply drops in the map where people go for, and they try to camp on the shield breaker when it spawns. And so you're kind of like you're balancing, you're finding a balance between how much time do I want to spend like passively gaining loot for myself, and how much time do I want to spend like being aggressive toward the enemy team and denying their ability to like loot in peace. And so if you find the enemy team while they're like still looking for purple shields, and you grab one and you run over to their side of the map and you just start sniping them out, you're doing enormous damage to them, because it means that they're not going to be prepared for the next phase. And so the longer the game's been out, I think the better the gear up phase has gotten, because it is increasingly not passive. It's like people hunting each other during a like a phase where they're less expecting of it or less prepared. Like it's not like you're in a raid where you're like everybody's like champing at the bit for the fight to start. It's like they're opening up a chest and all of a sudden they get hit with a sniper bullet and they're like, oh crap, and it kind of throws their entire plan away. And so I think the longer the game's been out, the more interesting that has gotten.
I think not to cut you off, but I think what you just said, I think that's where 5v5 can help, because the other thing I didn't touch on yet, and I don't want to interrupt your flow here, but what you just described in the looting phase and being able to kind of as a team focus or grab something quick and push, or decide you just want to really loot up and hoard the resources. All of that is true, except for the fact that because the space is so big and it's only 3v3, basically staying on the far end with your team and looting up is still too easy. Whereas I think with 5v5, there's probably more opportunity for teamwork and interruption of the other team, which is why I was excited. One of the things I said right away is the 3v3 doesn't work for this game. It's too small.
So a lot of people said that, and I don't necessarily agree with them. The maps feel good until you realize if you are staying on your side of the map and just like finding loot out in the open, you are getting a very bad deal. You're getting like the worst loot, and the chests are very far apart, and it's not an efficient way to loot. The actual loot on the map, and especially the Vesper, are located in 3 named regions. So there'll be like one area called like the mines and one area called like the fort or whatever. And if you go to those areas, there's chests everywhere and Vesper everywhere. And those sort of become the 3 areas that people fight over. And they tend to be kind of close together as well. They're like right in the center of the map in like a string. And so you can just stay outside and loot, but you're basically agreeing to like not get as much out of it. And so usually what people do is they start on their base and they rush into the center of the map into one of these like important areas, and they start looting Vesper and opening tons of chests and getting good loot. And so it's sort of, even though they're big maps, they're kind of just big to facilitate the capture the flag part of the game. They're not big because you're expected to like explore them or spend a lot of time in the in-between areas. You're kind of running to specific zones that are very small, and you're getting into fights and encounters there. And then in terms of the raid, 3v3 I think is the right choice for the raid, because 5v5 is immediately so chaotic. I will admit, when I talked to the developers, I asked them the same question during the preview event. I was like, 3v3, it's kind of weird for like a big thing. And they just told me like, we tried other versions of it, and it felt like way too much chaos. It was less about skill and more about just kind of like getting lucky because you could get hit by somebody super or whatever. And I would certainly agree with that when it comes to raids. But when I played the 5v5 mode, I was like, oh, this isn't as chaotic as I would have thought. Because the way the developers were talking about it, they were like, it just didn't work. And I played the 5v5 and I was like, it kind of works. I think it's less polished, the raid part in a 5v5, but it is like, I still was having fun with it, getting kills. Like I think it is a valid way to play the game, but I get their vision with 3v3 because it means that you have a ton of the success of your team on your shoulders, and they want this game to be competitive, and that is like a very competitive thing. 5v5 feels a little bit more kind of, it's like silly because you can get lucky and get some kills, and you can get unlucky and end in a 3v1 because there's 5 people on the team. And then the bomb planting and defusal thing is especially chaotic in 5v5 because 5 people is a lot of people to have to watch if you're defending, watch where they're going, and like preventing them from planting bombs in the various parts of your base. And it's even harder to to attack with because you've got 5 guys in the base that you're trying to stave off, and it gets really chaotic. You're having people like constantly trying to defuse your bomb and having to stay alive and coordinate. So it just gets a little chaotic in the raid part. I would agree it probably feels better in the open world exploration part with 5v5, with the caveat that loot is harder to come by in 5v5, and because they emergency deployed the mode, they didn't include like more loot in each chest or whatever, and so it's actually harder to loot up in the 5v5 mode. Like they really need to work on that if they want it to be a real mode.
Be like I said, the loot right now, it feels so linear. It feels relatively pointless. But the 5v5, so what I said, and I think it kind of aligns with what you're saying. I'm not saying I have the answer by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not a game developer, did any of the testing on this, right? But it just felt like if you're combining these modes to go, especially to, as you just said, to go from the looting in the open combat space or capture the flag space, they call it, right? And then go to the base, which is obviously much more confined. My opinion was they should have made it 5v5, keep the open space the same and expand the bases. Not make them huge, but just a little bit, because to your point, what I think would be better in 5-on-5 is you have, it's not a hero shooter, but you do have hero abilities, right? In the sense
I would call it a hero shooter, to be honest with you. They balked at me calling it that, but I think it is just a hero shooter. But what else would you call abilities? It?
I don't know, but like because of that, I think it makes more sense to have better synergies across teamwork, right, and team abilities where you're comboing. And I think 5-for-5 just explores those opportunities better than 3v3. Even though I get the chaotic sense, but I think that's why you keep the map size the same, but you maybe expand the base. Maybe you go an ABC, right, instead of just an AB. And just allow.
I just think 3v3 should be their competitive mode. I think 5v5 is more like party game friendly, but I do think it is like explicitly less accommodating of like an actual competitive, like sweaty match. And they have a ranked playlist coming out soon, which I would be willing to bet is going to be like 3v3. And so I think I don't have a problem with 5v5, but I do understand the argument they're making of like, look, we wanted to be a competitive game, and 5v5 is like a little more chaotic and less tight. And I certainly agree with that, especially if you're playing with people who've played a bunch of matches. Like the 3v3, you don't really ever feel it because you're always running into them during the loot phase. You're always, getting in these tough engagements during the capture the flag phase. And then during the raid, you're like always aware of where everyone on their team is. And you're kind of like trying to counterplay them. And it gets very sweaty very quickly in there. But that said, I mean, when they launched the 5v5, I was like, oh, this is like them giving up on their vision. And then I played it and I was like, it's actually kind of good. It's fine. So I didn't really have a problem with it. I do think they need to make some adjustments specifically to loot with the 5v5 mode.
Yeah.
There's also this hilarious thing, Ains, where have you played the 5v5 at all?
No.
There's this funny thing because they launched it unplanned. At the beginning where it like zooms the camera in into all three of your characters. In the 5v5 mode, there's 5 of your characters like kind of crammed together, and it zooms in on like nondescript parts because it like they clearly didn't make a separate intro for the 5v5 mode. And there's some funny stuff like that. Like it'll only show 3 people on your party. You can have 5 people in your party now, but it only show 3 on the menu, and it's just like they so very like clearly like pressed the like just let's just do it button, and it doesn't make sense in a lot of cases.
Break in case of emergency. I will say again, having not played this game, I think it speaks well to the possibilities for a team to be that agile, to be say 3v3 is not working for whatever reason. Let's try something new. And I don't know whether 5v5 will work better for them. I told you before the show started that I like the sound of 5v5 more than I like the sweatiness of 3v3. That always feels like too much is on me, and I feel bad whenever I fail. And 5v5 feels a little bit less like that, mostly.
What's funny is they were talking about how they decided on 3v3 because they tried 2v2, and they were like, oh, if you die in 2v2, it's like 50% of the thing on your back. And I was like, yeah, why the hell would you do 2v2? I thought for sure it would. Honestly, I'm surprised they went straight for 5v5. Like, why not 4v4? That feels like a kind of a compromise, and I feel like would be less chaotic. I don't know, but I think the team is. They mentioned when I was there that they have an engine that they're able to deploy content really quickly and test it really quickly, which I thought was pretty cool. Which is that's what you want in a live service game. But my point is with all of this, I'm saying, Ains, like your thoughts on the game were kind of my thoughts and seems to be everybody's thoughts when they play like right at the beginning. And then the longer you play it, the more you kind of understand it. But I think one of the problems with today's audience is that it's not really a problem. It's just kind of how things are. Your attention has to be super limited because you have to play 150 games every month to like stay abreast. You know what I mean? To like keep up with what's going on in the industry. And if a
we
game
do have
can't
tons of
prove
options.
yeah, you have so many options. And if a game can't prove itself to you in 20 minutes, it's kind of going to have a hard time. You know what I mean? And so this is one of those games where like, unless you have hours to dedicate to it, to like learn it and kind of appreciate it, because the takes I've seen on like, oh, the map is too big and empty, and like, oh, the defense makes no sense. Those are like things that a player who's played a lot looks at and goes like, that's like a rookie talking. You know what I mean? Like they don't actually know the game works. But that's not their fault. That's kind of the fault of the mode and the onboarding, and like
I mean, the devs have to sell their product.
Yeah.
I would also say I think you're disregarding a little too lightly. I think you're trying to blow it aside as, oh, you guys just don't know what you're talking about because you haven't played enough. And you're talking to people who play several hours of competitive shooters every single day.
Yeah, you just haven't played this one that much. And this is a very
I've played it for more than you're giving me credit for, and I play these games more than you do. So,
but not this.
I mean, come on, don't blow it off as Ains. You just haven't played it enough.
Well,
so you don't know
all the stuff you're criticizing wasn't like the stuff that is applicable in other shooters, right? It was the defense stage, it was the loot up stage, it was the kind of map size in that area.
The things of all those things.
Yeah, but they're all things that are not applicable to like the finals, right? Like it's not like your expertise in the finals is going to help you.
No, but I think what the finals does really well, right? So the finals has a 3v3 mode, and what they quickly realized, because Embark is awesome, is that their ranked mode needed 4 teams of 3 to make the finals interesting. And so their ranked mode is a 4x4, 3x3 of 4 teams, and then the second round is 4 teams, and then in the final mode, right, the third round is when you go straight 3v3. But again, it's a more condensed 3v3. You don't have these changing spaces of going. Yeah, you don't have a confined base to then massive space to then sit back while the fucking sword thing, excuse my language, rolls in. And then now we're going to be back here in a confined space and then re-expand. It's a very strange approach. And it's a game that focuses on the game mode more than anything else. And I think that's the problem, right? Is like it's expecting you to learn a game mode that has like 6 phases. I actually think it's like 4 phases, but it feels like it's got a lot of phases, right? Each of them is like different and has its own mechanics, and it asks you to like learn all of that. And also, by the way, it's a shooter, so like get good and like learn the characters, which we haven't even talked about, right? We haven't even talked about, which I think is good.
Yeah. I think it's good too, but I don't mean to be dismissive. Like, frankly, I have my own problems with this game. Like, one thing we haven't even talked about is the lack of NPCs in the open world. Like, that's kind of crazy.
Yes.
But I do think
from Titanfall 1 a little bit, I think.
Yeah, the game, like, for example, your example on the finals, not really an option for this game. They can't do multiple teams.
Very different game.
Yeah, then whose base are you invading? Sure. Like, is it one person's base gets invaded and then 3 teams all group up to like attack it? You know what I mean? Like, it kind of doesn't work in a multi-base format. Because it'd be 3 teams on one, and it's like, so then are there two shield breakers, and so there's 2 invasions happening at once, and then you have to like figure it out. They actually said that they tried versions of the game like that. I asked them about this in interviews, and they were like, yeah, at one point there were 4 bases, but then it was like you had to decide whether to participate in a raid or like be out in the open grabbing the next shield breaker for the next one, and it felt very chaotic and less structured. And so they kind of narrowed in on the most structured version of the game to make it less complicated. And I think it was still too complicated for like most people. And there's also I honestly think fantasy. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I was going to say, and funny enough, we got a comment from Zombie here. This is from 10 minutes ago, so sorry, but he said that's a good explanation, because that's basically what Shroud said. He likes it, but it's very formulaic. And I think that's my problem is they've taken their ideas, which are admittedly interesting ideas in the shooter space, and they've tried to structure them in a way that is simple enough for your average shooter fan, to your point, digest. And I think in doing so, you've kind of walked the line between both audiences. So your hardcore people like Shroud, right? I mean, Shroud is one of the most vocal people in the shooter space, is saying this is way too formulaic. And then you have other people, probably I always pick on Call of Duty. I don't mean to, but your Call of Duty shooter fans who probably go in and be like, what is this mode? And are dropping off of it because they don't want to learn anything. Yeah. So it's like,
yeah, I think that's exactly right. There's also like it's game mode almost appeals to like non-shooter players in a weird way. It's like
it's the most appealing thing to me. I as a board gamer, like it's like phase changes like that are really interesting, but
yeah. The multi-phased approach and the storming the castle, it like appeals to a non-competitive shooter player.
Those aren't bad ideas. I just think
they're not bad ideas, but I think to your point, like what you were saying, they walk the line between two worlds. They're like in between this person that just wants a competitive shooter where the game mode is not really the meat. It's sort of the shooting and the characters that are the meat of it.
Yeah.
And those people are going to be upset at the stuff you're upset about because the game focuses way too much on like the mode and the stuff around the mode. And they're like, I just want the meat, give me the main reason I'm here. And then the other people who are less into the competitive shooting and like the uniqueness of the mode, they're going to be disappointed because the game is built around a very competitive, sweaty, like shooting
people
like
in the face
framework. And so I think it's in between these two audiences, and it is not satisfying either of them. And so the only people it appeals to are people like me that are interested in both of those things. Like I happen to really like competitive shooters, and I also like really convoluted board games that this kind of appeals to. And so it's like the Travises of the world are pretty stoked because it does a cool thing, and then everybody else is like not stoked about it.
I like that it's different. Like we need different ideas in the shooter space. Like
I agree. That. They're trying something new, and that earns a lot of credit with me, which is why I'm going to bat for it for somewhat.
I think there's a lot of novelty described in what you said about this game, and I can understand why that works for you. I just want to get confirmation that, Travis, you can agree that they could have maybe just picked the wrong spot to land on their heavy-handedness here, right? Like from your description of events, they were concerned about chaos and losing people, and that's a legitimate concern. But it is possible that by structuring it the way they did make things more perfunctory than they needed to be. Like what Ains described in, okay, so you're going to get all the loot, basically. Everybody's going to get all the loot, which means that you could basically skip that phase if everybody's going to wind up at purples or whatever. I haven't played this game. But like that means they had to make these decisions based on that, and they might have picked wrong.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Like, I actually think that Ains' best point is the arbitrary level of the loot, because once you get to the phase where it's purples, everybody gets purples pretty much immediately. That's like a fair criticism. It's way too predictable, and there's not like I got a crazy rare that like nobody else has.
It's not like a battle royale where it's very randomized. Like it is random, but because you're just going off and doing it, everyone's getting them. So like if you like the long shotgun, which I do, of course, because I like sniping. So I usually roll with like the revolver and then the
ranger
sniper. Yeah, the ranger. Thank you.
And you can get that every time?
Yeah.
95% of the time.
Yeah, you can get it 95% of the time, like unopposed, if you want to play defensively. And that's sort of part of the problem of the mode. And then occasionally you will get like a purple when you're still in the blue phase, but it is so rare. Like I've seen it happen like 2 times where I shot a guy during phase 1 and he had a purple shield, and I went, what the like, whoa, how did that happen? And was like super shocked. It's like that just doesn't happen enough. That is one of my criticisms of the game, is like if everybody gets better loot, then nobody gets better loot. And that's sort of the problem, right?
Correct.
It makes it very artificial, like the power grind. And so I do think that's a problem. I also think that, like you mentioned, the defense, I disagree about the lack of like utility of the walls. I think the walls actually provide like a low obstacle that makes it some interesting decisions on the invasion and defense phase. But I think if all you have is that you can reinforce walls, that's not really the fantasy of a castle invasion, right? Like the people invading should have more tools for like doing the siege. Right now they just have zip lines and this thing called a shield piercer or whatever that lets them open up new holes in your shield. But beyond that, there's like very few tools that invaders have, and there's almost no tools the defender has. They just have the ability to make walls. And so that's sort of I think that's a problem. But yeah, I think Ains, your opinion of the game would be different if like you had the benefit that I had, and some of my views of this game is colored by the fact that I played it with the devs who were like talking to me about it and explaining
Sure, that's
they
why I
made
love
certain
having you on,
decisions.
because you can explain.
Yeah, it's
stuff.
like when you play with the devs, you're able to just like understand the meta and kind of how they're thinking of the game a little bit better. But that's, you know, I largely agree with, like, I see why you fell off it really quick, because you're on the side of like, I don't like,
and I'm still gonna play it, to be clear.
Okay.
Yeah,
but you're on the
supposed to
side
play
of
last
like,
night, but I told you my brother showed up, so I missed
that's
my
right.
opportunity.
You haven't played since the first day though, right? I'm correct in that.
No. I've played since then.
Okay.
Yeah, I played a couple times this week, a couple different instances of playing, and then my group I usually play with played the 5v5 last night. I just couldn't join because I had family in town.
Nice.
I am not going to play Highguard, but I do have an announcement that I think Travis will like, which is to say I always pick one of these multiplayer games, one of these live service games to kind of dive into a little bit. And I did, after hearing some stuff about Durandal possibly being involved, pick up a copy of Marathon for March.
Nice.
So I'm in for that for you guys.
Look at that. That's huge.
And that's
are we gonna do a
three-person squad
play of Marathon? Are we gonna do Bitcast Sweat Lords?
We should. Actually, because you know what? We know where all three of us are effing awake at this time. So why don't we pick
I don't even know that I would.
do that?
I don't even know that how would I connect my PlayStation to. I don't know how I would stream to you all.
What?
No, you don't have to. You don't have to do it. We could have one person streaming, and everyone can just watch the one stream. I mean, unless all three of you wanted to stream, but I'm happy to stream it, and the three of us can play together.
Yeah, why not?
You know?
We'd have to figure out the logistics there, but
yeah. Silkadit says Bitcast stream, the people demand it. So yeah, I'm down for that. That's cool, Hogue.
We're way overdue for that.
You guys can all judge my terrible ability to shoot people in the face.
I've got the Goofy Collector's Edition Thief statue here from Marathon that came this week that they obviously had made last year when they thought the game was shipping. So anyway,
I did want to tell you I picked that up, so I'm in for some Marathon, but not Highguard for me.
I love Well, look, I'm just saying I think Highguard's better than people are giving credit for. Mm-hmm. That said, if you read my review, it still reads like a 7, and I think this is a game that's barreling toward a 7 in my book. So it's not like I'm enamored with or think this is one of the best shooters ever. My headline for this game is I think it has potential. Who knows if it'll survive long enough to actually fulfill that potential? I think probably
it's
not
so hard with all the choices.
It's really tough, but I do think like they tried a new thing. They made a game mode that is unlike anything I've seen before. They did it with really cool, really well-designed, like snappy shooting, gunplay. The heroes, I think, have interesting abilities that augment the way you play the game. Like, it's doing the right stuff. I just don't think it's going to break through to the point where it'll be given a chance to fix some of the holes that it's got and become a better game. And so my review is not finished, but I'll just tell you guys right now, because it's not really under embargo or anything, like it's sort of leaning toward a 7 for me. And if you read my very lengthy review in progress, you can kind of see that bore out in like my thoughts. I think it has potential. And I think if it had enough time, it could be a great game, but I think right now it's just good. And I think people are acting like it's actively bad, which I just disagree with. I don't think it's a bad game.
No, it's not a bad game. And, my criticisms were that on the critical side of it, there are good things in this game, right? The Wildlight group has shooter chops, and you can feel that when playing the game. It feels and shoots like Apex, and Apex is one of the, top games in that space. So there are some good things here. I would agree with you. Review and progress wise, I have not played as much as you of it, but I'd be in that same range, the 6 to 7 range. I hope, as I always do with these types of new experiences, that Wildlight has you may know this, I don't know if we can talk about it. I hope they have the funding and the backing to last a while, and
the financial fortitude.
They seem to be doing all right financially. I know they have not announced who their investors are, but they have pretty big studio, big team. So hopefully they can weather the storm.
Good.
It's also helpful that they've already like pre-developed like a good chunk of the pipeline. So I think they can. Sure. We'll see. It's just hard to come back from hitting 10K players on Steam in the first week. It's pretty brutal.
Yeah. I wore this unironically, of course, today. But I do want to see the game succeed. Also, if you're not aware, they are giving, I think it's like 40 things in it, but the first battle pass is free. So just log in. They're giving it to you for playing. You can unlock cosmetics and stuff.
And all the ones after this are $8, by the way.
Okay.
Their battle passes are pretty cheap, and they're doing.
They want to be your budget Costco option to shooting gameplay.
Yeah, they're also doing the thing that Halo does, where like you can buy all the battle passes after they're gone, and they never disappear, and you can
Finals does
choose which one to progress in at your own rate and like all that stuff. They're doing that. Helldivers 2.
I think every shooter should do that. Finals added.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're doing the model right. Like they clearly don't want that to be the reason that they're not successful.
Sure,
but I think they have other problems.
A couple comments I want to get to just from audience while we were talking. So actually, you can read these, Travis.
Yeah, some guy from Utah writes, a game like that needs to have different strategies. Choose to be more offensive by rushing, or choose to be more defensive by reinforcing, or split between the two. I totally agree with him.
I don't know who you agree with is, but yeah.
I don't know who he's agreeing with either, but it sounds like, I mean, we both kind of agreed on this, like different strategies.
I mean, if I were to describe Ains's argument, it's that a lot of the structure is too perfunctory.
Yeah.
You like that word, true. And I like that you like that word, and I think that word is appropriate for this usage. So, carry on, sir.
No, I agree.
That was your grammar corner.
I'm with you. I think the problem is my perception is that most people are dropping off of the game because the game mode is too complicated, and we're all asking for them to make it.
You're probably right.
We are.
And so that's my thing. Is like on one hand, I'm like, I agree with you because I want there to be more depth to it, but they're already. People's initial reaction to this was I'm confused, and then they logged off. So I don't know if them making it more confusing is like the solution right now. I think they need to get there eventually, but right now it feels like it's
that's why I blame the industry and not these guys. It's like there has been a certain amount of teaching people to not go for these more complicated options. I mentioned Evolve earlier, but Evolve was a really cool idea that died in a fire because they just didn't bring the audience along.
I actually think Evolve's problem was that, I don't know if we've talked about this, but like Evolve was the kind of first big, like, what do you call it? Asymmetrical multiplayer game where like the teams were different sizes, but every game since Evolve has done the opposite, for like the reverse formula of Evolve, where instead of one person hiding and for like a group of people chasing them, it's a group of people hiding and one person chasing them. And all the successful ones are that way and not this way. And so I think Evolve just chose the monster should have been hunting the hunters, you know what I mean? And the hunters should have been trying to hide and power up. And so I think that's why that game failed, to be honest with you.
Just making me sad for Evolve.
They got the format backwards.
I was going to say it was very rare, but if you got a good team and they knew what they were doing, Evolve had some really cool experiences.
It was awesome.
I love the highest highs.
Yeah. High highs that were very rare.
I played as the monster always. That was a good time.
Thank you, some guy from Utah. Zombie with another comment.
News is a zombie. It's cool ideas, but it's a bit of a mess of 5 games. I don't know if it needed more time. If needed more time refined and play tested, probably won't have the luxury 2 years to get it all sorted out. Yeah, I agree with it being a mess of 5 games. It's like, I mean, they are kind of driving you toward the raid, but yeah, it's like you have to learn 4 different phases of the game and 5 different ways to play it. And then on top of that, you're learning the different heroes, which changes how you play it. It's kind of a lot. It's kind of a lot. And here we are asking for it to be more complicated.
And then Adam, I think, just summarizes concisely what we basically just said.
Adam Blue, the game's linear approach gives the illusion of complexity that either confuses you or becomes unrewarding. Yeah, it's true. So I mean, I really do think the thing they're trying to do is they're trying to just get you into that raid as quickly as possible and make it feel like you've been gearing up to like storm a castle. Like that's a fun feeling, but yeah,
which is a cool thing. Yes.
It is cool. It is cool.
So
also another problem with this game is we kind of talked about this. Their average playtime for a match is between 8 and 30 minutes, which is a crazy thing to tell a player. Is like, hey, you might either be sitting here for a couple minutes or a half hour. Like we don't know which one. It kind of just depends on the game goes. That's a crazy thing to tell a player. Like truly.
You're right, because like I play a lot of Battlefield as well. And Battlefield obviously has a lot of modes and different things, and obviously the Battle Royale, Red Second, it now. But like we choose our modes based on what we're doing and how much time we want to spend. Or finals, I do the same thing. So I play ranked in finals, right? And then at the end of the night, it's usually like, oh, you want to play a quick death match because we know that's going to be like 5 minutes. You know what I mean? But in this, it's one mode. And I had, like I just said, a match last week that was 34 minutes long because it went to OT. And then, as you said, the next mode, it was complete domination, or next match, and it was less than 10 minutes. And it was like, yeah, that's a bit weird because you can't.
I also popped an achievement, not to toot my own horn, but I popped an achievement for Alex and Rob over there for winning a match in less than 12 minutes with at least one member of your team never dying.
Yeah, but you had an advantage, sir.
He went and hid in the corner.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I did. No, dude, I got 31 kills in that match. It was unbelievable.
Travis, I believe it. That would be how I get that achievement. It's like, the games of Fortnite that I've won, I was mostly hiding in a tree. That's gonna
be marathon, Travis. We're gonna be out killing everything and then dropping the loot off at Hogue, who's hiding behind in a corner.
Here's the thing: Hogue can actually be
hold this, Hogue. I'm gonna go kill more people.
Hogue can actually be helpful in marathon because there's NPC enemies to fight as well. So you know,
I don't know. The ARC NPCs kicked my butt.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think the AI is even better in marathon, but Ains and I disagree on that one. They're pretty brutal.
They are brutal. Let's not make any mistake.
Remember when you got chased down the hallway by that robot?
That was
really funny.
Yes.
Well, I will have played no betas and no tests. I will just be walking in blind.
That's
with my love of the old marathon games leading me along the way.
Oh boy.
Yep. It's exactly like Pathways in the Darkness.
Oh my god, it's gonna be fun. We will figure. All right, let's make a promise right here, boys. We will figure out a way to at least stream at least one time marathon, the three of us for
I'm down.
Audience.
I got to do that.
Yeah. I'm willing to try to figure it out. I don't know whether I will be able to, but yeah,
I'll figure out the technical stuff. Don't worry about that. Okay, it's just committing to playing.
I can commit to play. Figuring out the tech on this stuff.
I got it.
Is beyond my purview.
It's easy. On Xbox, you just hit one button that says stream. Very smooth brain.
What was I going to say? That's Highguard. Thank you, everyone, for the conversation. Obviously, we've talked about that. Yeah, we've talked about that for a while. Luckily,
sorry, guys.
No. I think it was good. I think it's good. There's a couple other things I wanted to mention this week, which I want to shout out to Game Informer. Oh, sorry, I forgot a super chat real quick. Don came in with a super chat, but it was completely in Don's random what I've been playing weekly update, so I didn't want to use it during Highguard. So let's get his super chat real quick.
Don, the fourth member of Bitcast, writes, play Celeste, Crown of the Magister, the most AA game ever. Budget, Baldur's Gate 3. Celeste 2, in early access next month. First one is great.
I've heard about Celeste. I don't know anything about it, but I've heard a few people talking about this game.
Celeste goes on deep discount at a fairly regular interval if you want to wait it out. But it is it is a Dungeon Master type RPG game. So
okay. All right. Don, thank you, my friend. Hope you're doing well. And thanks for running the league for us again this year. If I can figure out what the hell I'm doing with the buttons here. All right. Couple new things from Game Informer. I want to shout out to them. A couple of the friends over there got some new commentary on both Judas from Ken Levine and Clockwork Revolution, which is one of my most anticipated games. So let's start with Judas. And I figure we can just quickly touch on this stuff, guys. It's nothing revolutionary. And it's Ken Levine talking. So take that with the bucket of salt that you usually need to take that with.
Yeah, he's got a bit of Molyneux in him.
A little bit, yeah. He's probably our modern Molyneux is what we can call Ken. But anyway, on Judas, Game Informer said they reached out to him just to get kind of an update because they've started these development updates and, apparently the game is finally progressing well, and he touches on that here. So basically he says, when we began, we didn't want to just make a first-person shooter. We wanted to make Judas a Judas simulator where you not only decide how she proceeds through the story, but also who you should trust and how you should deal with the consequences of your choices. The most important thing is really placing the player inside the character and letting them feel a little bit of what it's like to be on the ship as the sun is setting on the human race. He then says, in addition, what sets it apart from other games, here he goes, is the way we're building it. And the reason we spent 5 years on just research and development. We wanted the characters to not only respond to major choices, but to also recognize and respond to your sequences of actions down to the smallest details. So this is Levine. But I find it interesting that he says 5 years of research and development, because obviously all the reports that we've gotten externally are that there's a whole bunch of dysfunction within Ghost. Is it Ghost Story Games? I believe Ghost, something like that.
I think it is Ghost Story.
But I wanted to just bring this up, these quotes in particular, because what we're starting to see, and I don't know, we've heard about this in gaming for decades, obviously, is responsiveness and reactiveness in games to player choice and how the game represents the result of your choices. And I feel like we're starting to see directors talk more about this more seriously, because a very similar comment, which I'm going to get to in a minute, on Clockwork Revolution. And what I wanted to ask you guys is really, do you think we're at a place, if I think about modern games in this space, I know we've talked about it too much, so apologies, but KCD2 really does a good job of making you feel like decisions you're making are yours and things can happen based on those decisions in that open world. Are we at a place where, do you think some of this stuff from Levine can actually come to fruition in a way that's meaningful, or are we still going to end up in a space where this is what they talk about for 3 years leading to a game, and you play it and you're like, oh, okay.
I suspect, much like I suspect with Fable, we are going to get a lot of, that's as far as you can go with this right now. But I don't think it's a technical constraint. I think it's a financial constraint, right? If you go back and you look at the history of games, you look at Witcher 2 as an example, and you see that they have a completely different second act depending on what you do at the end of the first act. And I think largely that's awesome. It's very enjoyable to play through. But if you don't play it a second time, you don't see this huge chunk of development that the team put into the game. And I think even CD Projekt Red has come back and said, we're never going to do that again, because that just gets lost in the wash. So I think technologically, we can absolutely make that reactivity. We can absolutely have that creativity, but it doesn't make sense to build a giant AAA-esque game that way. We do see this reactivity in the indie space. We see it in the visual novel space. I've mentioned as one of my top 10 games of last year that the 100-line Last Defense Academy is the craziest branching narrative you have ever seen, and it goes off into a million different directions, but all in the context of, voice acting, comic book frames, and what makes sense for that kind of development cost. It wouldn't make sense to build out as a KCD2. But as much as that might be the dream for some of us to say, okay, we can accidentally turn this game into a horror game, it's just not going to be something that makes sense for the Ken Levines of the world to actually pay for. So I think even though these things are going to be said in a high and mighty falutin language, we have to say, okay, but chances are it's going to be red or blue or green at the end, give or take.
Yeah. And that's exactly, I think you touched on it well. That's exactly what I was trying to get to, is we've heard this type of speak for a very long time now. And I think you're right. I think it's like, how do you actually develop this? And not even just the how, but why do you develop it?
The how is easy, but the problem is the gamers are being a little bit of Luddites when it comes to this topic, which is you use AI, right?
The how, yes.
Yeah, the how is you use AI. Like that's like literally the technology that was designed to adapt to you and can simulate human conversations and remember things about you. Like, you can use AI to do it, but if you use AI in any context in your game, you better be talking about the AI that walks into walls and badly repeats the same lines of dialogue for NPCs. You can't be talking about actual AI, a technology that is neither good nor evil and can certainly be used in a positive way for the games industry.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I've said that it's really hard to have an honest discussion about AI in the gaming space, because to your point, as soon as people hear it, they just lose their minds. And I do think there are a lot of examples where AI is a problem in the gaming space, or a shortcut, or a cop-out, or a lot of other things.
Yeah.
But we need to be able to have a real conversation about what it could actually accomplish in other spaces. And I think what you're alluding to is exactly.
Obviously AI shouldn't be used for art or writing and stuff like that. And I think we've seen what happens when you try, like it's just not good. And that's sort of bore out in like people's response to it, right? Like you don't need to put an asterisk on work that was done by AI, because you can just judge for yourself whether it's good or not. And I would say 99% of the time, if AI created a piece of art, it's probably going to suck. And that's fine, but you can use AI in positive ways. And I think this is one way to do it. And I had like a couple weeks ago a debate with one of my editors who's like super anti AI. And I was just like, let me explain to you what AI actually is. Cause I work in the tech industry and I don't think gamers understand like
they
how
don't understand
can be worked. Like it's very much a like, you know, I'm afraid this is going to take jobs away from like concept artists type of thing. And it's like, okay,
which is a problem. That's a valid problem.
Absolutely.
But
I mean, I think it's more that like concept artists who know how to use AI to aid their work will take jobs from concept artists that don't. I think that's probably the more likely outcome, but there will be fewer, you know, positions if you're more efficient with the work. But I think that's, you know, it's a separate problem. But yeah, this is one of the areas where like, if you want to have good AI in a game, maybe use AI. The thing that it's called. maybe use the thing that its name was inspired by to do the thing that you're trying to do. I don't think that's going to be this. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be what happens. And so I think, yeah, it'll be limited to like an if-then statement that's written in code somewhere rather than like actually dynamically responding to you. So I don't, you know, it's not going to be anything we haven't seen before, I think.
Agree. And so that's a perfect segue for the next comment here on it was, Game Informer asked what the team is most excited for the players, and Ken says villainy for player. He says Judas's villainy feature will allow players to feel the pressure and stakes of building relationships with other major characters in the game. Depending on how you act with those characters, they may hate you or hate you and then like you again. It ultimately comes down to a plate spinning exercise that reflects relationships in real life. And so I think
all the social anxiety you feel in real life will now be in your video games. Get excited, everyone!
To experience it.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Careful with those dialogue choices.
Yeah. So the other thing he says right at the end, this is the last comment on Judas, is, however, don't expect to game the system for a perfect run. Levine promises. You don't need to write Levine promises. We can skip past that. But he says the villainy feature gets to a point in Judas where you can't please everyone, and one of the characters will turn into the antagonist. We're really eager to see players experience that and see which of our characters become fan favorites. So, this is stuff I think many of us do want to see in games, but as with everything we typically discuss, execution is everything. And so we'll kind of have to see how this actually shakes out. What I did get from this article, for anyone still wondering, this game's not launching this year. There's no way in hell this game's launching.
It doesn't sound like this year.
So I will note that it too.
I think so.
I will note that villainy as a naming convention and as described in this interview sounds like they are trying to build a legally compliant nemesis system.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's a good point.
You shouldn't be able to copyright systems in games. It's a silly
they
thing.
They patented it.
Or sorry, they patented it. Yeah. Didn't Pokemon? Isn't that the same reason Pal World had trouble? It was a patent about being able to catch things in a ball or whatever, something like that.
Yes. Let's just go with yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to go into the details here. Nintendo has a patent that they are seeking to potentially enforce against Pocket Pair, and Warner Brothers has a patent for Nemesis that they are seeking to never use in any capacity whatsoever.
Hell yeah.
No kidding. So that's Judas. I am, really hyped for this game. I love these types of games. I hope it delivers to any degree of what Ken is talking about here and for the development time they put into it, but we'll see. He did say that they will be, they're in their next kind of milestone of development. And later this year, they'll be starting down the more trailers and kind of hype and stuff. So I don't know. I could see this game maybe mid next year or something like that. We'll see. But it definitely doesn't feel like a 2026 game. Clockwork Revolution, also not a 2026 game. Just a couple comments from Chad Moore, really good guy over at In Exile, who's the game director on this. he said, and only reason I call this out is because it's very similar to what we just talked about, which is, he said, right now we're very focused on making sure the game responds to player choices in a natural way. We want every choice to lead to moments that feel personal, surprising, and true to the story that we're shaping. He adds that they want to make Avalon, obviously the setting, feel live and responsive so players can sense the city shift around their decision in ways that feel intuitive, immersive, and uniquely theirs. Because remember, Clockwork, obviously the theme behind the game is time shifting based on your decisions and how things change the city. So he said for us, the biggest thing for us is the depth of the visual reactivity. When you go back in time in Clockwork Revolution and change something, you're not just opening a new branch, you're coming back to a present that's been physically reshaped around those choices. Avalon has been handcrafted to reflect those changes in ways that feel surprising and earned. It reacts to what you've done in ways that you just don't see in many other games, which I have to imagine, and I think he uses the word handcrafted very specifically here, but I have to imagine that this is a lot of development effort to do this effectively, if it's going to be done effectively.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be, right? It would have to be a lot of stuff that you're only going to get to see in certain kind of golden path choice mechanisms, which means that there's a lot of stuff that's going to not get seen.
Exactly what you were talking about earlier, Hogue. Yeah. Yeah, maybe to a slightly lesser degree than say Witcher
just make
2,
Wasteland 4. I guess that's good enough.
I'm more excited about Clockwork. I'm more excited about Clockwork Revolution than I would be for Wasteland 4. That's
me too.
Straight
yeah,
up
me
true.
too. No, this actually does look really good.
I'm pumped for it. Yeah, I think I said it this week. I honestly believe this is going to be In Exile's coming out party. So if you're not familiar, right, In Exile, relatively small studio that had made Wasteland and other games. Good talented studio. Bard's Tale, some RPG chops there, but they were limited, right, in scope. And when they're one of those studios as part of the Xbox acquisition that kind of really expanded, they got a brand new home studio building. They, I think, tripled in size in their development staff. And so their focus has been on Clockwork. This is their big new IP. And I really do think it's going to be awesome. And I'm going to convince myself of that.
Everything we've seen so far looks cool. I hope it comes together.
It does. Yeah.
Did you guys ever play Torment Tides of Numenera?
I did not. No.
I did. I kickstarted that game.
Nice. That sounds like a game Hogue would kickstart.
I believe I kickstarted the Bard's Tale reboot that In Exile did way back in the day.
Have you ever played the tabletop RPG for Numenera?
I have not. That is a pure tabletop RPG. That's not a board game, right? I don't have a lot of I don't have a lot of tabletop groups. No.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. Zombie asked about Clockwork delayed. They said in due time. They have not announced a release date, but I can tell you it's not coming this year.
Can't delay your game if you never say when it's coming out. We call that the old Silk Song dodge.
I was going to mention Crimson Desert. We don't have to touch on that today. Just if you're interested in that game, they are starting a series of 3 kind of deeper dives. So there's like a 15-minute or 11-minute something video on the world of Pywell. The one thing I do want to mention, which I'm not sure you guys have heard this yet, the protagonist's name in Crimson Desert. Have you seen this?
I watched the video.
So, Travis, if you haven't seen this, the protagonist in this fantasy now single-player non-MMO experience is Cliff McDuff.
Oh.
And he sounds like he's in Banishers.
Oh.
I'm like, Cliff was already funny, but you made his last name McDuff. I'm like, really?
Let me say something that is perhaps a bit unkind to this video that they put out. Okay. So obviously I
need my Hogue moment. Come on,
their
Hogue,
big attention getter right now is that the graphics are very impressive and that you can kind of imprint on what an open world experience could be there. But I have to tell you, this is a 15-minute video. I had to play it, I think, more than 5 times because it has that cadence of some of these MMOs that I don't love so much, that just they say words, they say sounds, they sound like they're making sentences, but they just go one in one ear, out the other.
Ashes of Creation.
Completely loses me immediately as I watch this video. So, like, I want to be excited for this. I can see it's gorgeous. I can see there seems to be a lot of things to be interested in, but I am deeply off-put by the one video out of the 3 that they've announced now that they've put out, in terms of I feel exactly like I do when I bought a game and I immediately know that I shouldn't have bought it. So Godspeed to everyone looking forward to this thing. I believe this is going to be inert for me based on that video alone.
It was a weird one in the sense of the funny thing I put in our notes here, to me, it had a lot of resemblance of like Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Like it feels like one of those giant Assassin's Creed games just with a fantasy element tacked on top. And I don't even mean that in a negative way. It's just, it looks, to your point, Hogue, like some of the MMO roots still seem to be there. It's got an awful lot in this it's a huge world. There's an awful lot of things to do. And that can be good or bad, right? That can be where it's very engaging and you find yourself putting a couple hundred hours into this beautiful world and doing all these things, a la Witcher 3 and the games we've talked about many times, KCD 2. Or it can be a game where it's got so much thrown at you and it's so big, but none of it is very meaningful. And you just get really bored of it very quickly. And I have
it's all
no
very
idea.
dull.
Yeah, I have no
like
idea
even the lore,
where it's going to land.
You know, we're going to say Abyss a couple times, and we're going to show you some inscrutable things.
Gotta say Abyss.
And it's like,
you got to.
Okay, so my feeling, like in my gut, when I'm watching these videos, it reminds me of that Square Enix game that I can't remember with the girl with the shoes, and she's jumping everywhere.
Forspoken,
yes. And it's like I just couldn't engage with it. Like there was just
Girl with the shoes.
No hook to hang my hat on.
He got it off of that. That was crazy.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Hogue usually thinks women shouldn't have shoes. So
yeah, that's right. He likes those dirty feet hippie ladies. He's into
the hobbits.
White women with dirty feet. You know what I mean?
No. But it's pretty prominent that she has the sneakers on in the fantasy setting. But yeah, no, it just reminded me so much of that kind of. This is a half-baked world building kind of thing, and they were pushing it so hard. I was actually surprised. It's a 15-minute video. I would get to like 6 minutes in and feel like exhausted from having to listen to it. And it's I wish I was excited about this. I understand people looking at it and saying that is gorgeous. That looks like a fun place to run around. I just get the sense it would be the dullest thing ever. That is what I got from that video, which is not what you're going for marketing. I know.
So the reason, I don't know if you guys saw it, but I put on here for this very reason, because I feel very similar to you, Hogue. Let's have just a fun, for the hell of it, open critic bet on where this game's going to land next month.
Does it come out? Is it actually supposed to come out next month?
Comes out March 13th
it'll
or 18th.
Definitely come out next month.
It's March 19th. March 19th it comes out.
Okay, so I'll be knee deep into owning everybody at Marathon.
Woo! Let's go.
What would you do if Hogue was just a
dude? We log on to stream and
we log on. He's just like
people,
just blasting us, and we're like, dude,
just killing everybody.
I will tell you, I had an unusual acumen at for Destiny for a minute there. It's well past my time, but for a second, it was like I get unusual scores on
when did
this.
you become such a beast? And he's like, I'm not really good at these games, guys.
I'm not. I am
just
really
sharking
not.
us this whole time, just years of sharking.
I'm gonna go. I'll go first, just to give you guys.
I have written down my numbers. I will not change them.
I'm gonna go 79. Open critic. We're going open critic, not Metacritic. Open critic on this one.
Why do we do open critic?
I'm not. I don't understand the difference.
Just because that's where the fantasy stuff is, and most people pay attention to. Well, not most people, but you know what I mean.
Travis, you got number
72.
On, let's go.
All right. Well, because I had written it down and I'm not changing it, I'm going to Price is Right you, Travis, 73.
Okay. All right. Got it saved. There you go. You heard it here. 79, 73, 72.
None of us think this game's
getting an 8 or higher.
Worse than 72. I'm crushing this. You know what I mean?
Yep. You get all the 60s.
And
all
if it's
yours.
higher than 79, which I'm very doubtful it will be.
Godspeed, Haynes. If it's in the 80s, it's yours.
Yeah. Cliff McDuff will never let me down, Hogue. He's got me.
Cliff McDuff. Unbelievable naming choice.
I have this very small range, but it is the mid 70s, which I do feel is the most likely landing spot. So
you do have the mid 70s. That's true.
What'd you guys do if
anyway,
this became the biggest game of like a decade?
I've told you guys at Summer Game Fest last year, this game was popping off. Every station was full and people were waiting to play it constantly. So it may, we don't know. It's been in development for several years. Its original launch date was 2023. It's been in development forever.
And I'm basing it on nothing except one video I didn't like.
Yeah.
I met with somebody about this game the last year that E3 was a thing.
Right.
This game. Yeah.
Anyway, Guys, been a great show. Audience, you've been awesome today. Good conversation. On the season gaming side of the house, we do have our review of Dragon Quest VII Remake. That'll be tomorrow. I think the embargo is up for everyone, so keep an eye for that. Alex has put a lot of time into that game, and everything will be up tomorrow. I know a lot of people are excited for that this week, and of course, we will have our cooking special finally arriving this week as well. As soon as I get a chance to finish editing it.
Christmas in February.
That's it. That's it. So check that out on the SG side of the house. Hogue, I'll pass to you first this week.
Sure. Well, as per usual, I have been practicing law and not making any video content for any of you, so I apologize for that. But I did want to call out a story that I saw this weekend that I really like about a video game called Iron Lung. And if you don't know anything about this game, it's a tiny indie game where you are strapped to a submarine that is going through an ocean of blood. And you're only in that submarine. That's all you're engaging with. So it is that kind of asset efficiency from indie games. But what happened when this game came out a few years back is that a certain popular YouTuber became enamored with it and wanted to make a movie about it. And that YouTuber goes by the name of Markiplier. And he made a movie that he scripted himself and directed himself. And I don't know, he might have built the submarine set himself. Doesn't have a studio, doesn't have a production crew, as best I can tell. Made this movie for a couple $1 million, and it looks right now like it may finish first or second in the box office in the United States for this weekend. So I wanted to call it out both because it's a video game story, but also because there are a lot of things in life that people will tell you can't do that are gatekept from you by movie studios or publishing houses or anything else. And I just want to tell folks that you can do things. And it doesn't mean you're going to be Markiplier and you're going to make millions of dollars making a cardboard submarine movie that everybody loves. But I just want to point these stories out for folks because I think it's too easy to get dour and depressed about the state of the world in 2026. And these things to me are really, really cool.
I haven't been watching the news. Anything happen?
Markiplier's making some money.
Oh, okay.
That's cool, though. That is cool. I saw the note about this. I didn't know the reference or anything. I didn't look it up. Sorry. I forgot to mention it early in the show, but that is very cool. Good for him.
No, it's all right.
I hope he's a good YouTuber. He's not like a Mr. Beast, right? Like he's a good guy.
I mean, they're all YouTubers, but no, he's not on the Dr. Disrespect side of the equation.
Okay. He gets actually invited to places. Okay, cool.
He does. He's got some 40 million subscribers, I think. He's been doing it for a long time. He's primarily been making videos on horror games and whatnot. So more power to him.
Okay. All right. Cool. A good shout out, Hogue. Thank you. Travis, anything coming this week?
Yeah.
That you can say.
Yeah. There are stuff coming this week. I can't talk about it right now, but my review of Highguard, I've got a review in progress live, which is like 2,300 words. It's kind of long for a review in progress. And I'm probably going to finish that at some point. I'll get a video to you. I was going to put it out this week, and then I saw them change the game before my eyes by adding a 5v5 mode. So who knows how many more times that's going to happen before I can publish a review.
You got to get your review out first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to make the Fortnite mistake, review a tower defense only for them to turn it into a freaking battle royale like the day after my review goes live. We're not playing that game, sir. Not anymore. We've learned. Live and learn. You live and you learn. So yeah, I've got Highguard coming this week. I've also got a preview of a game. I think it's out. One sec. I'm gonna Google. Yes, it's out. Okay. I also previewed a game that I can now talk about called Hunt Down Overtime. If you guys did not know about the game called Hunt Down that came out in 2020, it's like a 2D action shooter kind of Contra type game, and it's very goofy. It takes place in like a 2086 Detroit where crime and gangs are everywhere, and you basically play RoboCop.
Okay, yeah.
It's that sort of thing.
16-bit era.
What's that?
16-bit era story.
Yeah, it's that sort of game. And the sequel is very interesting because they're doing a lot of they're changing it to a roguelike. It has really cool mechanics added to it. I sat down to play it for like 20 minutes because I got assigned it by Ryan, and I was like, all right, I'm going to sit down and give it a try. And I played the entire demo. I could not pull myself away from it. I played it for like 2.5 hours, was just like sucked in. One
Wow.
of those games that's really hard to step away from. So I'm actually super excited for that game this year. It's coming out this year, I think, in early access, and I'm pretty stoked for it. So check out that if you care about that. And then I have some other news coming soonish. It'll be fun.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. Well, excuse me, audience, thank you as always for hanging out with us on this fine Sunday. Lots of games to enjoy. As we said, check out some of the games we mentioned, demos of games out there. Lots of game demos lately, which is great to see as well. So you can check things out. Play Highguard. It's free if you want to check it out. And we will be back next week with some more good gaming. Until then, enjoy your week. We will see you then. Peace.